issue around missing children remains a huge one for the country. And Bianca van Aswegen, who is the National Coordinator for Missing Children in South Africa, joins me now. Bianca, thank you very much for your time this morning. And again, what a troubling aspect of South African life to be focused on and to have to tackle, but we're glad there are people and institutions like yourselves who do this heartbreaking but important work. When we think about the numbers, something like 4,000 children at this moment in South Africa still remain missing and unaccounted for. Just talk to us about the anatomy and profile of missing children in South Africa, and also troublingly, more girls than boys, over 2,000 girls, over 1,500 boys snatched, taken, not with their families this morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's still a real and imminent problem that we're facing in South Africa with children going missing. We've got so many reasons why children go missing, and what's quite prevalent at the moment is kidnappings and human trafficking. Jocelyn Smith is once again a case that needs to be used as a wake-up call for South Africa to realize this is a problem that we're facing with our children that are going missing. It's not just girls that go missing, it's boys. They're also just as vulnerable to fall victim to any type of crime and to also go missing or to become a victim of kidnapping and human trafficking in our country. But unfortunately, statistics only gives us a general indication of the problem we are actually facing. So many cases actually go unreported due to people being in rural areas, being too afraid to go to the police stations. So statistics only really gives us a small percentage of the problem that we're really facing.
When you said a few moments ago that the kidnapping and the recent sort of high-profile case that we're talking about and that we're focusing on relating to Jocelyn Smith serves as a wake-up call for the country, what are some of the things that constitute that statement? Why do you say that?
Jocelyn was Jocelyn's case actually hit the media quite hard. We see it spread on social media. We've seen it all over on the news. But there's so many children that never get that attention that is missing. And each and every child should get the same media attention when that child is missing, like with the Jocelyn case. There are a lot of children that are missing that people are unaware of. So that is one of our biggest problems, that we need to get each and every case in the media. It needs to be shared. People need to be realize what the problem is and how many children are actually missing, and help us to get information to get that child back home safely. We are heading to the festive season that we call our silly season, so we need to implement our safety measures. We need to start safety at our houses, in our homes, and to know how to keep our children safe.
Well, let's talk about some of those safety measures. Bianca, we know that South African life is unequal across the country. A number of families may not have access to caregivers. A number of people may live in rural areas where perhaps there isn't that support of extended families, where people are working. So the experience is very different countrywide, which can heighten the vulnerability and the opportunity for people to prey on young children. So what are some of the safety measures that we as a society, both individually in our homes, in our families, but also collectively as communities, can do to keep children safe?
Definitely. Unfortunately, yes, there are parents that need to work and they don't have any carers for their children. But we've got community centers, we've got churches that implement holidays, school holiday programs, specifically to actually have the children come there and stay safe until the parent can actually get home from work. But it's very important to know where your child is at all times and whom they're with. Also, children should always be under adult supervision. Please don't let them walk to the shops by themselves. That even puts them in a more vulnerable position when they're out on the streets by themselves. Especially our teenagers always stay in a group of friends, and something that is vital, and that is our social media use. Social media is one of our biggest platforms where children are lured. So please, parents, pay attention to your child's social media. Monitor it, make sure you know what you're posting, what your child is posting, who they're speaking to. It's all these small little safety tips that is vital in keeping our children safe.
How are children getting taken? You talked about social media being an opportunity where I imagine, and we've seen a number of different stories about children being lured by people who are posing as somebody else who are not those people, becoming vulnerable, meeting people in places alone. Just talk to us a little bit more about some of the ways in which children are being lured and taken away from their families?
Yes, social media, as I mentioned, is one of the platforms where children will be, for instance, lured and groomed over a period of time by a person pretending to be someone else. But in majority of the cases, we've actually seen where children are taken, that the person or the perpetrator is actually known to the child. So we also need to be careful of people within our communities, family friends, family members. They've got a better understanding of the child and also the trust towards the child. So it's easier for them to gain access to a child. So we do need to look out for the red flags when it comes to those types of people. Inappropriate touching, too much attention to a certain child, inappropriate comments being made. A lot of people don't listen to their children when they say they do feel unsafe with a certain person, but we need to start listening to our children. They're not saying this for nothing. So we need to listen to them, take note of what they're saying, and do something about the situation.
How do the trafficking networks operate in South Africa?
Well, there's so many means and ways that they operate. They're very sophisticated, and it all depends on who the victim will be due to what the use for the victim will be. So a person is actually the commodity when it comes to trafficking in persons. We've got various reasons why children are trafficked: illegal adoptions, we've got forced labor, sexual exploitation. So a lot of these children, for instance, with the sexual exploitation, they will be lured on social media, falling victim to false job advertisements or modeling contracts. We've got problem with our forced labor within our boys, for instance, in the agricultural sector or mining sector or our fishing industry, where they will be recruited from rural areas, or even we've got victims being brought into our country and victims also being taken out of our country. But these syndicates are sophisticated, they know what they're doing, and the most vulnerable is our children, and that is where we need to start implementing the safety measures within our communities. Report any matters that we do see or suspect, and it's very important to please report it to the police, because we need to know about these cases so action can be taken.
So you said the obvious route, the initial response and route, is to go to the police. What role does your organization play in assisting families who, let's say they go home and realize, oh my goodness, my child hasn't come home from school, my teenager hasn't come home from an outing? What are some of the immediate steps that they can follow, bearing in mind that time is always critical, it's of the essence?
Definitely. So the first and the most important thing to do is to report it to your nearest police station and open a missing persons case. People still tend to believe they have to wait 24 hours. That does not exist at all. The quicker the case gets reported, the quicker action can be taken. We, as an organization, we work very closely with the South African Police Services. Please contact us to also assist with the case immediately. The first 24 hours to 48 hours is absolutely crucial, especially when a child goes missing. In that time frame, a child could be anywhere in the world by then if it's not reported. So it's very important to get that case opened. Contact us at Missing Children South Africa. We issue a flyer. We do everything we can when a child or a person goes missing. We even have a lot of cold cases that we're still focusing on. We never give up on any of our cases. We make sure everything is done to help and reunite a family.
Bianca, just share those contact details. We'd like to project it before our interview ends for families who, together with going to the police, can come to you as well.
Yes, all our information is available on our website. It's www.missingchildren.org.za. We've got great safety tips there. We've also got the process of what to do when a child or a person goes missing. And then we've also got an emergency line. But please note, this is for emergencies only. It's 072-647-7464.
Bianca, let's go back to the Jocelyn case. I mean, you did say 24 to 48 hours, critical time. Months have passed. Naturally, hope has to be alive in the absence of her being found otherwise, that she can still be retrieved. What are your concerns around this case?
Yes, unfortunately, it has been months that Jocelyn is still missing. But as I mentioned earlier, we've got so many cold cases of children that date back even to the 1980s that are still missing. But there's always hope, because the child has not been found dead yet. There's always hope in the fact that they could be somewhere and they can be alive. So this is still an ongoing investigation with Jocelyn. We'll see what happens today in court. But everything from our side and the police's side, we're still investigating her case, following up on leads, making sure everything is done to help and find Jocelyn.
Bianca, thank you very much for talking to us this morning, and I'm sure a huge help to families who potentially are still dealing with the loss of a child, the status of a missing child in their homes. These are some of the resources that are available. missingchildren.org.za. The number that Bianca has just shared with us now is 072 6477 464 for emergencies if something's gone wrong. But we can all work together as communities and individuals to keep our children safer from the predators that definitely move and work in our societies.